On February 14th, 2024, the Kansas City Chiefs, in celebration of their recent Super Bowl victory, had their Super Bowl parade. And for those of you who are familiar with the events of that fateful day, there was a mass shooting that is reportedly the largest mass shooting in the history of Kansas City. However, this is not what you typically think of when you think of mass shootings, which is a single shooter with some kind of manifesto doing some kind of crazy thing where he's targeting random individual civilians. This is the much more common type of mass shooting that doesn't get the coverage that it deserves, which is, of course, some random gang violence involving mostly black youths. And there were multiple shooters, multiple people killed, and one of the shooters in that particular instance, who was also charged with resisting arrest, was just arrested yet again for armed robbery not 2 weeks ago. And this, of course, is causing a lot of outrage among people in Kansas City, because participating in the largest mass shooting reportedly in the history of Kansas City probably should have gotten you more than 2 years in juvenile detention. By the way, he didn't even get that amount of time. He actually served 0 time for his crimes, yet this individual was released back onto the streets only to reoffend again, do so with a gun, committing a broad daylight armed robbery. And this is the absurdity of the American criminal justice system, especially when it comes to fighting racism against innocent Bubba Angel black youths. I mean, all he did was fire at a Super Bowl parade. Again, the deadliest mass shooting, or the largest mass shooting reportedly in the history of Kansas City. We can't actually expect him to be held accountable for this. He also resisted arrest, by the way, during the course of this, so that's 2 violent felonies. We can't actually expect him to be accountable for that, and that's the result of when you actually buy into this ideology, is the fact that this man is out there on the streets yet again, attacking more people with firearms. And again, it is a minor miracle that the person who was robbed wasn't shot and killed in this particular instance. And this is what we're going to talk about today. But before we do, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay?
The suspect in the armed robbery of a man at a Kansas City gas station was one of the teens who fired a gun at the Chiefs Super Bowl rally 2 years ago.
Asere Mekenon was 16 at the time, now 18. Never served any jail time for the rally shooting. Fast forward to today, he's now behind bars, charged with 2 violent felonies.
Now, I'm going to link the full local news segment in the description of this video if you guys want to check it out for yourself. Support your local news. But what that anchor just said in order to open that segment, that this guy did not serve any jail time for his participation in what is believed to be the largest shooting in the history of Kansas City, is absurd, ridiculous, and asinine, and another perfect example, another perfect distillation of what has been called many a times black privilege, because there is no way in hell that if you are white, even though you are a 16-year-old mass shooter, that you would be able to get away with it. But of course, a judge decided that this guy should not be charged as an adult. All he did was try to murder people at a Super Bowl parade. I mean, who hasn't done that? Just a regular standard youthful indiscretion. And not only did he not face the consequences in adult court for that very much adult crime, but in addition to that, he didn't face any consequences basically at all, in that he served no jail time for that particular crime. Again, insane, asinine, ridiculous. But let us go to this article in order to read up a little bit more on this new case and a little bit about the old case. A man accused of robbing someone at gunpoint at a Kansas City gas station is now facing serious felony charges, and he is the same teen who fired a gun during the shooting at the Kansas City Super Bowl rally more than 2 years ago. Asere Mekenon, who was 16 at the time of the rally shooting and now is 18, is currently behind bars in Jackson County. Court records show that Mekenon is charged with 2 violent felonies, including first-degree robbery, after investigators say he robbed a man at gunpoint at a gas station on Truceville Avenue less than 2 weeks ago. The new charges are raising renewed questions about whether or not the outcome of his earlier case in the juvenile justice system prevented a more serious consequence, and whether that decision could have changed what happened next. So I don't know why people are wondering about that. I don't know why people are speculating about that. You could have charged him as an adult, where he would have faced serious prison time for, again, firing a gun during the course of a mass shooting during, again, a Super Bowl rally where hundreds of thousands of people were in attendance. And yeah, he would not have been out on the streets 2 years later committing this armed robbery. Plus, we all know, and we should all understand, that he committed a bunch of other crimes that they have yet to arrest and charge him for during the course of that 2-year period, because again, the man spent no time in jail, no consequences for participating in the largest mass shooting in the history of Kansas City, because innocent Baba Angel, youthful discretion. Again, who among us at age 16 did not participate in the largest shooting in our city's history during the course of a Super Bowl parade? I mean, maybe your team doesn't win enough to experience that, so maybe that's on your team if you really think about it. Maybe the Kansas City Chiefs should be held accountable, because this innocent Baba Angel, what choice did he have but to fire his gun at that Super Bowl rally? I mean, come on, guys. What are you even thinking? On February 14th, 2024, hundreds of thousands of fans gathered in downtown Kansas City to celebrate the Chiefs' Super Bowl victory. The celebration turned into chaos when gunfire erupted near the end of the parade. Multiple people were charged in connection with the shooting, including 3 suspects facing murder charges. Mekenon was also arrested at the time he was 16 years old and charged with unlawful use of a weapon after firing his gun. His attorney argued that he acted in self-defense and defense of others, and he was also charged with resisting arrest. Oh, did you guys hear that? Mekenon was just acting in self-defense when he was firing his gun at a gang shooting that erupted at a Super Bowl rally, so there's really nothing to see here, nothing to be concerned about. And I just will remind all of you guys out there in the audience how hard they prosecuted Kyle Rittenhouse for being caught on video in the cleanest, most obvious case of self-defense ever recorded in this nation, again with a gun that was in his possession legally, where he was attacked multiple different times. But here we have a 16-year-old who did not have any right to have that gun, firing into the crowd again on this Super Bowl parade, and apparently that's self-defense. Innocent Baba Angel didn't do nothing wrong, was just defending himself. And honestly, you might be a little bit evil, white, and racist to think that quite possibly he should be charged as an adult just because he participated in the largest shooting ever recorded in the history of Kansas City. I mean, honestly, guys, what's wrong with you that you don't think Mekenon deserved this second chance? It's not like he's gonna reoffend again. Oh wait, he's already committing additional gun crimes. He just was arrested for that. And again, somebody could have been killed because this idiot was released back onto the streets because the judge decided, oh my god, what a sad story. Again, basic youthful indiscretion. Who among us has not done the same thing? Now, like I said, at the time of the case, the judge presiding over him decided not to allow him to be tried as an adult, and he was released to home detention, again, not even being held in custody pre-trial. And of course, the case pursued through the juvenile system ended up resulting in a sentence of no jail time, even though, again, he eventually admitted not only to the resisting arrest, but also to conduct that was dangerous and injurious to the welfare of others. That would be the shooting, by the way, the doing the shooting, you know, the mass shooting that we're talking about. And then he apparently spent an unknown amount of time with the juvenile justice system before being dumped back on the streets, despite the fact that he's incredibly dangerous. Now, of course, the local news ends up interviewing an official who talks about how disastrous this is and how people are concerned about that. Here's a little clip right here, even though what is being said is absolutely obvious.
It is something that is of major concern to the public. Anytime you have individuals who are juveniles, go through the juvenile justice system, and they don't get it, and then they're back on the streets committing crimes as adults, we've got a major problem.
So anytime you have a juvenile offender that doesn't really get consequences and then he continues to commit crimes as an adult, we have a major problem. Again, the understatement of the century, possibly of the millennia, but notice that this guy is a former state prosecutor in this particular area, not a current one, and that's because we have a complete change up in the system, and of course the consequences of that are the fact that Mekenon was released because innocent Baba Angel. Now, of course, we've seen a bit of a pivot, a bit of a shift in people's view of criminality, even since 2024, where the Black Lives Matter era seemed to be finally wrapping up. So maybe, just maybe, we'll actually see real consequences in this particular case. But the fact is, they could have addressed this earlier, and had that gun been fired by Mekenon, by the way, don't mean to take away any agency from him. I'm not a left-wing prosecutor or a left-wing judge who thinks innocent Baba Angel, you youthful discretion, then somebody else could have been seriously injured or killed. And again, this doesn't even go into the fact that he was very likely committing these robberies multiple times before he got caught for this one. And again, all of that could have been prevented had he been held to account in the first place.
Now the 18-year-old faces 2 felony charges, including first-degree robbery and a probable cause statement. Police say he should be considered a danger to the public.
Now look, he's being charged with 2 legitimate felonies, and of course in the probable cause statement, the prosecutor is saying please hold this guy pre-trial, which is why he's in detention right now. That's a good thing. I hope that continues. But yeah, this is where we're at in Kansas City. They let a mass shooter, a participant in a mass shooting, go. He reoffended. Nobody should be surprised by that, except for of course the left-wingers who thought giving him a slap on the wrist would somehow turn him into a scholar. Maybe a NASA engineer is what they were expecting, but instead they got an armed robber. And again, this was an obvious result. But you know what? Those are just my thoughts. I want to know your thoughts down in the comments below. As per usual, if you like this video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on the social medias, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about Kansas City's failed juvenile/adult criminal justice system, leading to another person being put in mortal danger. Till next time.